then we would have enough chicken. This kind of problem that we have today of no chicken in Lesotho would not be there. Had we had what was necessary in 2019, how much chicken do we consume as Basotho nation? We import 2 billion maluti per annum worth of chicken. Then there's a commonly used word in Sesotho, people don't even know what I do. Because I'm in energy, I'm in environment, I'm in education, I'm in food, I'm in agriculture. Because you see, we should never mistake this. Money is a beautiful tool. When she was the national sales manager, I resigned to start my own business. And I was only 21 when I started my first business in Scotland. And 2008, the economic meltdown was there. Most companies do not want to employ people full time. Because by 2013, we had received 4 international awards. So we went our way. We raised in total to date, we've put over 20 million of investment in Mon-Foods. And we lost 40,000 beds in less than 10 days to a disease. In the history books of this country, once upon a time, there was a young guy who was nuts to invest his livelihood into a chicken industry and has changed the landscape of Lesotho forever. We did fairly well. From 2015 up until today, we've trained over 1,000 entrepreneurs, incubated. So the environment in Lesotho is not conducive for business. In fact, the environment in this country by design is meant to kill you as a business person. We take advantages like AGOA and move away from this thing whereby we bring Chinese here to come in infrastructure that is built by the government of Lesotho, for that matter, right? Give them bailouts when they are failing, because we want them to keep jobs. Right now, it's cheaper to produce in Cambodia. What are they doing? They're closing all the factories and moving. The biggest fallacy we believe or we are told is the concept of a self-made millionaire. So in previous years, LNDC would buy Lesotho's land, close to nothing because for development, leave them without land, put factory shells. Now the very same people who sold their land, they go and queue up for jobs in those textiles and they get a wage. Instead of selling that land, then set up a community trust. Then they come in with that 10,000 worth of land into 100,000 project. Okay, LNDC invested in Maluti Brewery years back. It's almost 30 plus or 40 years, and a generation will take it in 20 years, right? So now there's at least 2 generations of people in LNDC benefiting from that investment. No. Work extremely hard in whatever you put your hands on. Be exceptional at it, so that I build a bucket of money that will allow me to pursue my passion, which is to de-risk the SMME space, invest in businesses, and open up doors for more people that are coming after me.
Welcome to another episode of the Reconnect Podcast and TV Show. I'm excited to have a distinguished guest with us today, a visionary leader, a serial entrepreneur, and strategic thinker, Mr. Stephen Monyamane, with over 10 years of experience leading large teams in corporate UK and making significant contributions to various ventures in Lesotho. That Stephen brings a wealth of knowledge to our conversation, from co-founding Mon-Foods, 100% Basotho-owned, vertically integrated poultry business, to serving as the executive chairman of the Entrepreneurs Network. He has played a pivotal role in shaping Lesotho's entrepreneurial landscape. Join me as we delve into his entrepreneurial journey, insights, and the impact he has made in both the business and education sector. Without further ado, let's reconnect with Dade Stephen Monyamane. Greetings.
Hi, how are you doing?
Can you share more about your journey as a serial entrepreneur, from starting companies to building wealth and selling them?
Well, you see, nothing starts hoodie. Everything starts at the bottom.
Yes.
And I think for me, it started from the age of 6. More or let's say 1993, when my father came back from exile. And he was in the taxi business, and I'm his first son. So the natural thing is, he takes me, and I'm just learning to operate at the age of 6. And his one word was a simple one. And there's a typical thing that happens, or that used to happen in Lesotho, where parents would start businesses, whether it's buses, taxis, whatever, right? When they die, that business dies with them.
Yes.
Then there's a commonly used word in Sesotho, and his question would be, Khubana knows it's gonna die. So why does it not create a nest and protect those eggs? In the simplest way, if I want my legacy to live beyond myself, how do I capacitate my children? How do I get them to understand how to make money, not only how to chow it, so that one day when he is not on this planet, his kids are capable of sustaining the businesses, growing it even further, or running their own ventures. So it all started there. So I used to get paid about Konda, and so I went to school at SDA, Seventh Adventist Primary School. And if you know it, back then, we're not allowed to go with money at school. We're not allowed to go with food because we are fed at school. So here I am. I get paid money that I can't use because I don't need to use money at school. So the next best thing was I have chores at home. I'm still responsible to do my chores at home. And guess what? I then realized that with money, you can be able to pay people to do the chores you don't want to do.
Yeah, that's true.
So you could safely say I started employing my siblings to do the chores that I didn't want to do. And I think it's a lesson that we learn. And it's ingrained, you see the benefits of it, because you see, we should never mistake in this. Money is a beautiful tool.
Yeah.
And ultimately, we work hard because we want to make money. Yes, we'll have impact. Yes, we'll change lives. But that bottom line is extremely important, right? Because it enables you to do all these amazing things you want to do. So I think it started there. Fast forward, went to school like other kids, did my first year at university in University of Johannesburg in Joburg, and then I was a loudmouth. I studied hard, I worked hard, I did everything to the best of my abilities unto the Lord, and I then got the opportunity to move overseas to go. I was recruited by a company to go work for them as a sales rep. So we used to do door-to-door sales, like literally convince people to move from one company to another, door-to-door. And I went to the most remote part of Scotland because I was in Aberdeen. And working in Aberdeen, I was working in the northeast part of it. It was like your Inverness, your Inverurie, Invergary. And in other areas, they had never physically seen a black person. This is 2005. They've seen them on TV, but not in person, So I was a thing to marvel at. And as a sales rep, you always, that is the icebreaker on its own. So it's a conversation starter, you understand? And then they were surprised that I could speak fluent English. They were surprised that I could converse with them. So it was interesting, And generally, Scottish people were quite friendly. So after working my way up within the company, eventually I was the national sales manager. I resigned to start my own business. And I was only 21 when I started my first business in Scotland. So a friend of mine, Solomon Ibarolu, was a mushrooms salesman for a company. So that company that he worked for got liquidated. But he was the one who found all the customers. So we then said, if the customers are already there, why don't we go find a supply of mushrooms? So we flew to Ireland, found a supply of mushrooms. The following week, we were supplying the very same customers, now with a new company. So we didn't even know what to call the company at the time. So his name was Solomon, my surname was Monyamane. So the common denominator was Mon, M-O-N. So we started Mon Mushrooms. So we started selling mushrooms. And it was doing fairly well. Now you see, people who eat mushrooms, on your breakfast, you have mushrooms, you have tomato, you have other things. Or on your vegetables, you have other things. So after running mushrooms for a bit, we then said, people eat mushrooms, eat tomatoes, lettuce, cucumbers. Why are we not selling that? So we end up going to the market, we started selling all the other things. And I'm not talking about the plastic, like large scale. We're moving in tons. And then we realized, okay, everybody's doing this, but nobody's doing your exotic stuff, your shiitake mushrooms, your grey oysters, your truffle mushrooms, your munch too, your sugar snap. And we could literally go to Kenya, pick these things up, go to Egypt, and we bring them fresh into the Scottish market. So we would source them, buy them in local currencies wherever we're buying, and then get them air freighted, the light ones, air freighted into Scotland, would be the only people with them, and would sell them in pounds.
Wow.
And our strategy was simple. In the morning, so our work started at 2 o'clock every morning. When we received the trucks into the market, we sorted the orders. By 4 o'clock, the transit vans, our delivery vans, are leaving the market, driving to go deliver to hotels, restaurants, and so on and so forth. Because the idea is by 7 o'clock, when the people are, like by 6 o'clock, people are preparing for breakfast, all the fresh produce already delivered. Once we had done that, so by 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock latest, the hard labor is done. We used to drive those trucks. So I'd go out of the transit van, he would go out on a transit van, right? So then we were in overalls, delivery, right? Once we finished that, this is maybe about 8 o'clock, we go back, reconcile our books, right? Then we'll go home, shower, we'll dress up in suits, we'll go park the transit vans, would drive our beautiful cars. So we used to serve high-end restaurants. So high-end restaurants usually have a bay window, right? So we'd come in, we park our beautiful cars out, and we walk in, we're black, we smell good, we dress well, and so we are patrons. We would then study the menu and would identify on this menu what products can we supply them with. So this is our first day, right? We'd order our food, have a good time. The following day, we would then prepare a bouquet, okay, of samples of whatever they liked. So if we saw in the menu they have got that, so make a sample of that, a sample of that, a sample of that, a sample of that. You see, when you are a patron and a guest in a restaurant, especially high-end ones, you can call the chef to your table. And we would request the chef to come to our table, and he would happily come because we are his guests. And when he comes, I'll quickly go to the car, whip out our bouquet and say, we enjoyed your food, we think it's amazing. Here is our supplies. Go play around with them, test them. If you love them, give us a shout. So we've already made an impression as we enter. So some would take 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Some will go immediately, like, I actually need that, and that's how we grew the business. So dirty work, early hours, hard labor, and then find what works for you, and then that's how we grew the business. So you're working on the business, and then you are then getting customers, because without customers, there's no business. So fast forward, within a space of a year, we had, about 10 transit vans across Scotland on a daily basis. We're probably moving 50 tons of produce. So it's quite a lot, And so we didn't have to drive trucks anymore. We were people driving. And ours was to now source out products and then get more business. So sales, get this product, go to market, and we build that. And 2008, the economic meltdown was there. And what then happened is people were cut on luxury goods, okay? So what we were selling was your luxury items. We're not selling your normal spinach, So people were cut on that. So we sat down with each other and said, okay, we are already accustomed to living a particular lifestyle because we are making X amount of money. If we continue, we're going to be forced to scale down. So question is, do we exit now? Get somebody who is in a similar line of business, who is making less money than we're making, For him, moving up would be an upgrade, right? Or else us scaling down would be a downgrade. So we put an offer, they loved it, we sold the business, we exited, we made our money, and we were very happy bunnies. So then the idea comes in, so what's the next problem we're going to solve? Because remember, we were still solving a problem. The problem is the company that sold mushrooms.
So when you sold it, you were how many years old?
I was still 21 going to 22. But you see, my business partner at the time was 42, because he was 20 years my senior. But we were equal partners.
Oh.
And then I started the second business. The second one is because of the credit crunch, most companies do not want to employ people full time, because when you employ them full time, there is terminal benefits. There are many other cost to company associated with employing people full time. Secondly, in uncertain times, you don't know what the future holds. So keeping them on a full time basis means retrenchment is expensive, the reputational risk, blah, 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 you name it all, right? So what they would rather do is have them through an agency. So we set up with a different person this time around, a nursing agency. So we recruited nurses, doctors, and carers. We supplied them to nursing homes, okay? What set us apart is back then we didn't have like your sophisticated internet rights there. So we had an intranet platform, okay? And on this platform, what we would do, we worked predominantly with nurses that were already employed elsewhere. So that, and predominantly African nurses. So what will happen is in the UK, you have a shift. You can either, this week you do 3 days on, 4 days off, or 4 days on, 3 days off, because it's long shifts, right? So what you would then do in the process, as soon as you have your availability or your schedule from your employer, you would go onto our system, punch in your availability, right? When you punch in your availability, it will then, remember, we've already said, oh, Stephen is preferred by nursing home X. So there'll be an algorithm at the back. We had an amazing IT guy who did this. So then it will then notify the preferred nursing home that Stephen is available. Then that nursing home will then log onto our system and then confirm the booking. It was before WhatsApp, right? So there was SSD. So then when that system we have confirmed, the nurse or the carer would get an SMS confirming them. So it meant our administrative team was one person. But the system enabled us to manage over 400 carers, 200 nurses, and about 50 doctors.
Wow, that's great.
Without having to interact with them personally every day. So that saw us 10x our business. Like we grew astronomically. And because our cost of sale or our operational cost was low, we could be able to pay a little bit more to the carers, the nurses, and the doctors. So we then became the preferred nursing agency. Because there were many nursing agencies that were wanting to employ people, right? So we became the preferred. And because we were systematic, right? There was minimum human error. I forgot to send an email. I forgot to call. I forgot to do that. The system did that in the background. No emotions, nothing, right? Just system processes. So automation actually made our business grow. This is 2009, 2010. Okay? So we did that. And again, this I can't mention who, but a fairly large nursing agency gave us an offer we couldn't refuse. I'm just cutting the whole story short.
Yeah. Could you share how much was it?
It was substantial. was substantial to give you a very good life. So we sold. After selling, I knew I wanted to come back to Africa. I didn't know where. So I spent almost a year and a half in Congo, Burundi, Tanzania, Uganda, Kenya, South Sudan, Libya, doing all sorts of different things. But really experiencing life, understanding how people work, also like volunteering, but also seeing business opportunities in that area, in Zimbabwe and Mozambique, and the likes. Then eventually I came back home to then join my father, my late father, who was running at the time. It was only called Ocean Sea and Health and Safety Training Center. It was a one-man show. He did everything himself. He was the consultant. He was everything, right? Asebeletsa from his office in my parents' yard, Hamada. So here I am, not being able to imagine. I've worked in a multi-million pound business. So just to give it in context, when I was the national sales manager, our sales revenue that I was responsible for was over 28 million pounds.
Wow.
That's at
And
18,
you
19.
were still young.
That's 18, 19, 20, around that.
Wow.
So I was responsible for that. I had about 1,200 people working under me. I had about 14 branches across Scotland. Okay? So here I am. Now I'm going to Hamada, and a business that is run by one man that has not yet reached $1 million, not dollars.
Yeah.
But you see, so I said to him, I'll be with you for 2 weeks, and after 2 weeks, I'll make my decision if I stay or not stay. And I tell you, after 2 weeks, I said to him, I'm here and I'm staying. And I've been here since. And we grew his one-man show consultancy. He had an accreditation and a school registration. But what he would do, he would get 5 or 6 guys who are trained to be safety officers. He would then put them through the curriculum part-time, and then came in, put systems in place, and I said, we're going to expand in this direction. And that was 2011, 2012. By 2013, we had received 4 international awards. Wow. We had moved from one-man show to a staff complement of over 20. And by 2013, we had moved to Happy Villa. We'd grown our campus significantly. And then in 2015, I then officially became the CEO of MonTech. So we moved it from being Health and Safety Training Center to then being MonTech Institute. So the idea behind MonTech Institute, and I said, is it's based on who the founder is. So you see, my father was an amazing politician without a title. He was an incredible community builder. He was a pastor. He was a businessman. He was an engineer. He was amazing at a lot of things, right? I remember one time I was in Ghana, and in Ashanti Gold. And when I'm there, I just mentioned my name, and then somebody said, how were you related to Stephen Monyamane? Because his name was my father. And then he shows me this picture, I'm like, he's my dad. And the guy just shouted and said, you know what this man did for this company? Wow. He had helped Ashanti Gold develop their health and safety standards and reach 5-star. You understand? Mm-hmm. You go to another country, I meet somebody who knows my father, and he knows him from a different perspective. You understand? So that is why the vision of MonTech was birthed, because his idea of starting a school was, I want to produce after my own self. So the vision of MonTech is to develop choice professionals and holistic leaders who will transform the Basotho nation and touch the world. So my father, in his own right, had transformed the landscape of Lesotho. The birth of health and safety compliance is on that man's shoulders. Okay? You go to different countries, he has impacted people in those different places. You understand? and he was a holistic individual. That is why even our education system is looking at you as an individual holistically, from your morals to your ethics to what you believe in, what you stand for, and making sure that you're a holistic individual. So that's the idea behind it. So long story short, we've gone MonTech to what it is today. We offer diplomas that are accredited not only in Lesotho. Our students, after completion, they do evaluation with SACA, and immediately they will receive entry of level 6 equivalent. So, and they can further their studies elsewhere. And we still have other aspirations and dreams of where we want to take the school, but education ultimately is the government's responsibility to train their citizens. So we wish if we could also, like all the other private institutions that are actually foreign, when we are homegrown, get the same treatment, then maybe the 400 students that apply every single year would actually be studying here and would have more students studying, So it came about that, and so it's been a long journey of multiple things.
Wow, that's really, really great. I have seen that MonTech also focuses on occupational health, safety and environmental management and culinary arts.
Yeah. So we our core, our original foundation is health and safety. Okay, because at the time we were the first institution, and I could safely say, to this day, to my knowledge, I might be wrong, the one that is fully accredited under the Lesotho qualifications framework to offer occupational health and safety up to diploma level. I stand to be corrected. We did offer culinary arts through International Hotel School, and we stopped it just during COVID, because for me, when you look at the cost of culinary arts and the required equipment and everything, to do it properly, we need a large number of students who can actually afford, and affordability is a big problem. So until Manpower sponsor our students, there are certain courses that for me wouldn't make sense.
I totally understand. So apart from MonTech Institute, you also studied Mon-Foods. Can you tell us about its role as a Basotho-owned vertically integrated poultry business?
So in every entrepreneur's life, there comes a time where you do what you would call your legacy project. To some people, it come at 50. To some people, it come at 60. Some at 70. To others, it comes fairly early. For me, it came at 32. 2019, when I became curious of how much chicken do we consume as Basotho Nation? And the figures were staggering. Scary. We import, and this is the declared amount, not the under-declared, not the smuggled, which is a lot of that, but the declared amount. We import 2 billion malut per annum worth of chicken. Can you imagine what 2 billion circulating in the economy can do? The multiply effect of that. So in this instance, we buy chicken, the money leaves the borders of Lesotho, goes to South Africa, right? We're left with chicken we consume, we eat. But imagine if that value chain was based in Lesotho. So it means we would eat the chicken, 2 billion goes into Basotho businesses, which further buys more in Lesotho. So the multiply effect would be 3, 4, 5 times. And bear in mind, our annual budget is sitting about 25, 27 billion.
Yeah.
So 2 billion is just shy of 10%.
Yeah, 10%.
And that's on one per culture. So when we did our maths and did our feasibility study and saying, what would it take to build an end-to-end vertically integrated poultry business in Lesotho? and came up with a figure of 540 million. Obviously, we didn't have
dollars.
no money. That is building that business from end to end. And if we could invest that amount, then we would have enough chicken. This kind of problem that we have today of no chicken in Lesotho would not be there. Had we had what was necessary in 2019, I promise you, Lesotho would be independent as far as chicken is concerned by now. So we went our way. We raised in total to date, we've put over 20 million of investment in Mon-Foods. We have an abattoir that can slaughter 27,000 chickens a day.
27,000
chickens a day. So 27,000 chickens a day, just in context so that you understand. As a country, we import approximately 90,000 birds per day. So that abattoir has the capacity to slaughter just under a third of the country's demand. It meets most of supermarkets' requirement. Okay? We implement food safety standards there. But the abattoir cannot function on its own. It needs inputs. So we then went on and invested money in a chicken farm. Biggest mistake, the property is owned by government. So we renovated a government property. We fixed it, put quite a lot of investment on it, on a sublease agreement. And every single government change meant we were at risk because of political interference. But when we did it at the time, this project is bigger than one individual. It's a national project. But it was never seen as a national project. It was seen as a Monyamane project. So he can't be rich alone. Not realizing how many jobs we're creating. But I tell you this, I mean, at our peak, we were selling 12,000 bits a week.
Wow.
So we have a hatchery, a farm, and an abattoir. We've had many challenges throughout. The final blow was last year when our farm was filled to capacity with 72,000 beds, and we lost 40,000 beds in less than 10 days to a disease. Now that industry, the poultry industry, doesn't have insurance. So you do your math, 40,000 beds times 60 in 10 days.
Mm.
I can talk about many losses that we've had, but that was our last blow. However, even with that, we still didn't give up. So until of late, because of complications of the farm, we opted to work with partners in Kroonstad, where we have other farms and other relationships there. So when we need stock, we bring live birds, we slaughter them, take them to market. But our idea is to still completely build a vertically integrated business in Lesotho, and we will. And I don't know if my delusion or dream of having 100% Basotho-owned business can see the light of day. I think right now, after doing this, it'll be naive of me to think that we can do it alone as Basotho. So finally, I am open and I am actively working to secure other partners, regardless of their nationality, regardless of their country of origin. Because I think after 4 years of blood, sweat and tears maintained as Basotho-owned, right? And I've realized that, is it the passion that I want, or do I want us to have chicken in this country? Do I want to have, obviously, Basotho participating in the wealth creation of this country, but am I open to getting institutional investors from overseas or from South Africa? You know, so that's where we are now, and I think there could have never been a more opportune time for us than today, when the glaring evidence that if you don't have the value chain within the borders of Lesotho, KFC will close. It's been closed. We're coming to a month. Go to Pick and Pay, there's no chicken. Go to ShopRite, there's no chicken. There's no chicken in Lesotho, zero. Anybody that has it in the next 2 weeks, there will be zero chicken unless somebody's smuggling it. You understand? So that's why, for me, when I say every entrepreneur in their lifetime, they have that legacy project whereby they cast their entire loss. Like with this business, every single cent I had, every single investment I had, I liquidated, sold all the assets. This is like hook, line, and sinker for me. But if it works, it means in the history books of this country, once upon a time there was a young guy who was nuts to invest his livelihood into a chicken industry and has changed the landscape of Lesotho forever.
SMME stands for small, medium, and micro enterprises. These are businesses that have a small number of employees and a relatively low turnover. For people who don't know, SMMEs are considered to be the backbone of many economies around the world, including Lesotho. I have also realized that you are the executive chairman of the Enterprise Network. Can you discuss the role of the Entrepreneurs Network in Lesotho and its impact on supporting SMMEs?
Wow. Okay. So 10 for me, that is my dream. You know, we there are certain things that if I had all the money in the world, what would I be doing? I would be running 10. Because 10 is an entrepreneurial ecosystem builder. When we first started 10, it was from a place of, yes, we needed to have impact, but it was your feel good kind of thing. Okay? Because at the time, because of what we were doing, we were invited everywhere. We were the blue-eyed guys of the entrepreneurial landscape in Lesotho, right? So the idea behind it was we're going to use our influence, we're going to use our privilege to open up doors for people who would otherwise not have access to that privilege. And we did fairly well. From 2015 up until today, we've trained over 1,000 entrepreneurs, incubated. You are part of that. We have held expos consecutively except for 2020. And we have impacted, like we've had over 4,000 exhibitors at our expos. We've had over 500,000 people reach on social media throughout our expos. And we have, I can take you to more than 150 companies that have had access to funding because of what we did. That are still in existence today, you know? So that's what 10 is about. But you see, post 2019, my passion for 10 has changed. Because I have just said, as a 21-year-old boy, with relatively minimum experience, I'm able to start a business and sell it for a profit. I'm able to start a second one and sell it for a profit. So how come this guy at 21 years could do all this thing, and at 32 years, with more work experience, with more corporate experience, with more governance experience, with more education, failed? And then you realize that we have an arid landscape. So the environment in Lesotho is not conducive for business. In fact, the environment in this country by design is meant to kill you as a business person. So, you see, when you do design programs, sometimes you can have a messiah syndrome. You can, I want to solve problem for people, right? So you have this sort of savior syndrome. That's where we started. But right now, when I run 10, I have been a victim of an environment that doesn't function. Yet I had access. Yet I had assets. Yet I had a name. I had a brand. I had a track record. I could literally call any minister and I'd have access to them. I had a relationship with all the banks. I had served in boards, different boards, you understand? So if I, with that track record, that experience, that access, could struggle because of the system, how much more a guy who's fresh out of university, without a surname, without capital, without experience, without an uncle that knows an uncle that knows an uncle, how much more then would they struggle? So the Entrepreneurs Network exists because of that. Our idea is simple, and that's what we've been doing. One, we challenge policies that we think are not business friendly to get them to be business friendly. So we do stakeholder engagement at a higher level, right? Secondly, we funnel opportunities to the relevant people like we did with Steam, right? Thirdly, we de-risk the SMME space so that it can be bankable, number one, and two, investor ready. And how do we do that? As a startup, as an entrepreneur, you are amazing at your craft. The world we live in expects you to be an accountant, be a lawyer, be a marketer, be everything while being an entrepreneur. Yet corporates would have a whole department of marketing, a whole department of legal guys, a whole department of finance. One is doing accounting receivables, one is doing accounting payables, one is doing, you understand? But we put that entire burden on an entrepreneur to do everything. And they can't afford to hire professional services. So when we incubate entrepreneurs, one of the first things is to identify your skill, your talent, and what you're good at. So that the areas that you're not good at, we bring in the professional services to then help you professionalize that business. So we allow you to flourish in your area and bring the support you need. And once you've done that, in 6 months, you'll have management accounts. In 6 months, you have all the policies that you need within your organization. In 6 months, you have a revenue model. In 6 months, you have a cost model. In 6 months, you have a go-to-market strategy. In 6 months, you have all these things that a corporate would have. And then we'll be able to document everything that you're doing properly. We'll then be able to handhold you. And secondly, we have mentors that their job is to then say, hey, you need to access the mines. You don't even know a single soul in the mine. Yeah. But I'm able to pick up a call and say, Ndade, I have somebody who would really need to pitch to an executive in the mine. And because of this trust that we've built and the relationship we've built, and because I've said this person can do it, they immediately open that door because they say, we trust what 10 brings. You understand? So ultimately, 10 is my dream. When I'm rich, that's all I want to do. De-risk the SMME space, build a pipeline of investor-ready businesses, and I personally invest in them as well, while we raise venture capital fund, equity fund, or whatever fund for them, and then grow them. The next chapter of 10 is the Lesotho market is 2 million people or 2 million plus people, right? You can only grow so many billionaires in this country. You understand? So it's how do we soft land them in the nearest market? In our context, the nearest market is South Africa. They've got over 60 million people, which means the market is bigger. So if we can perfect our product here, we use Lesotho as almost where we have our value proposition done. And then as the market receives, we test, we correct, we improve very quickly. Fail fast and fail quickly, get it right, improve it. And then we soft land into South Africa because already we're within the SACU area. And the next step is take advantage of the African continent free trade. So how do we then move Basotho into that space? how do we take advantages like AGOA and move away from this thing whereby we bring Chinese here to come in infrastructure that is built by the government of Lesotho, Masimu Basotho, for that matter, right? Give them bailouts when they're failing because we want them to keep jobs. Right now, it's cheaper to produce in Cambodia. What are they doing? They're closing all the factories and moving. Do you tell me that there are people wearing less number of jeans? Because the same amount of jeans that were worn 2 years ago in the US, where the jeans were going to, they're still worn. They've just decided Lesotho is no longer an attractive place to exploit. We will then move on to Cambodia. Had we built capacity Basotho to partner with those Chinese and be part in those factories, the likes of Ndadeko Bedi is still standing. He's still producing the same quantity. In fact, it's increasing. So it goes to show when we invest in Basotho, they will stay because this is their home. Case in point, the current Prime Minister, right? Today we hail him praises of being a philanthropist and giving. Great. He could do that because years back the government was intentional about developing contractors, Basotho contractors. And guess what? When he's made it, he will always keep the money home because home is where your heart is.
Yeah, that's totally different.
So yeah.
Well, also you were the non-executive director of LNDC and Lesotho Polytechnic. You also did lots of things. Like when I was reading your profile, I was like, well, we have people like this in our country. Like, they're doing really great. And I know you inspire lots of people, including myself. So, as a visionary leader, how do you see the future of entrepreneurship and development in Lesotho?
So let's start here. First of all, no one on this planet is self-made. The biggest fallacy we believe or we are told is the concept of a self-made millionaire.
Yes.
In my humble opinion, it does not exist. We are a product of somebody intentionally or unintentionally opening up a door for you. And of course, there's a role you have played. You were prepared, you were ready, you have put in the work, but the door was closed. So when that door was opened, you were able to put your foot in because you're prepared. You understand? I am a product of intentional men and women of this country. More so through the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, whereby I joined the chamber and I became a member. I had a skill and I had a talent, but I didn't have a platform. So the chamber would then say, you are conversant with environmental issues, you are conversant with energy issues and educational issues. So what we are going to do, if we have any conference that talks about energy, you will go. So I would be there representing the chamber. But when I get on stage and I present, right, my talent would earn me a seat there. But what opened the door for me to get into that room was the chamber.
Yeah, that's true.
And today, I get into so many places, people don't even know what I do. Because I'm in energy, I'm in environment, I'm in education, I'm in food, I'm in agriculture. Because being holistic, but having had doors opened continuously. And then the other part is this, when the door is opened, do you then become a man of integrity? Do you keep your word? Do you deliver on your promise? And do you actually get the work done excellently? So my philosophy is simple. Whatever you do it to the best of your ability as unto the Lord. Simple. So I represented the chamber in the LNDC board. And I had one dream and one dream only. the Lesotho National Development Corporation is there to build this country's economy. Most importantly, in my opinion, is to build this economy for Basotho, by Basotho, and there has to be wealth creation and shared wealth. What is the one thing that Basotho own? It's land.
Yeah, I see.
So in previous years, LNDC would buy Basotho's land, close to nothing because it's for development, leave them without land, put factory shells. Now the very same people who sold their land, they go and queue up for jobs in those textiles and they get a wage. So one of the things that we changed at LNDC is never again will LNDC buy Basotho land. So because of the 2010 Land Act, I think it's 2010 Land Act, now you could have your land leased, right? So instead of buying Basotho land, evaluate that land and say this land is worth X amount. The total cost of this project is worth X amount. Let's use simple maths. The project cost 100,000 maluti, okay? This land is worth 10,000 maluti. Instead of selling that land, then set up a community trust. Then they come in with that 10,000 worth of land into 100,000 project, okay? That simply means they have a 10% equity into that project, whatever LNDC is doing. The beautiful part is this. Now, not only are they going to benefit in their lifetime, but they will leave an inheritance for their children's children. Let's take a case in point. LNDC invested in Maluti Mountain Brewery years back. It's almost 30 plus or 40 years. And a generation, you take it in 20 years, right? So now there's at least 2 generations of people in LNDC benefiting from that investment. So can you imagine if these factory shells that were built here were built in that model? How many of them would be enjoying the benefits of that asset today?
Oh, yeah.
So for me, as we go into boards, my term is, yes, I have a fiducial duty to that organization. But first and foremost, I have a bigger duty to my country and my people. So what Lesotho do I want to live for my children's children? Yes, sir.
What advice do you have for aspiring entrepreneurs based on your journey and experiences? Like that advice?
If you asked me this 10 years ago, I would have given you a nice spiel, a nice speech and go like, this is the... I've come to terms and realized that life has no formula per se. However, passion doesn't pay bills.
Yeah, like people like to say follow your passion.
No. Work extremely hard
Yeah.
in whatever you put your hands on. Be exceptional at it. Work extremely hard and be excellent at it. Perfect your craft, whatever craft it is, perfect it. And make sure that you are selling it like mad. Because with a bit of money in your pocket, it allows you the luxury to pursue your passion.
Wow.
You can't push passion on an empty stomach. So work hard, generate money, deliver a product, solve a problem, sell a solution. And then, while you are good at this thing that you're doing, you've already built a name for yourself. When you pivot into your passion, people can already rely on you. People can already trust in your ability to deliver, right? And you have a bit of money to back you. Guys, we've vilified and demonized money. You need money to do these things.
Yeah.
So work hard to make money so that it enables you to follow your passion. Like I said, my dream is to do 10, but I'll solve every single problem that I see in my area that I'm capable of solving it and do it well, so that I build a bucket of money that will allow me to pursue my passion, which is to de-risk the SMME space, invest in businesses, and open up doors for more people that are coming after me.
Wow, that's great. Thank you, Stephen, for sharing your time and wisdom with us today. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, stay connected and stay inspired on the Reconnect Podcast and TV Show. Is there anything you would like to say before we?
Yeah, I think my last thing is, guys, we have one life. And life is challenging. Life is full of ups and downs. Never go at it alone. We bottle up so much because we try and put up a facade that things are well when things are not well. We deal with a lot of disappointments internally, but we still want to show up as strong. And I think the biggest fallacy we have is this whole thing that you can be an instant millionaire. You wake up and within a year, your podcast now has 1 million subscribers and you are balling. And then you want to fake it till you make it. One of the biggest lies that kills people, that kills entrepreneurs, that drives us into depression is faking it till we make it. And I'm not saying you should show your worst self, but be your authentic self, build steady, build gradually, build consistently, and show up strong in your capacity. But also remember, you need a community to build an individual. That's.
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.